Hey folks, Pat here from DNS. This Madison area fishing report is current as of April 21st. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Austin Rogatsky. He came through last night and kicked off our spring seminar series. Austin was talking about walleye flies and hair jigs for walleyes, and he really just did a great job. Knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. I'll admit I was a little skeptical when he said all he needed was a whiteboard, but yeah, he really gave a great presentation. Illustrated things very well for folks. And yeah, I can't thank him enough. And I also want to thank everybody that came out. We had a great turnout, almost a full house here. And the folks that did make it out were kind of treated to some kind of personal, hands-on kind of look at how Austin rigs things. And of course, we gave away some door prizes. So it was really a great event and a great kickoff to the 2023 seminar series. Of course, next week we have Ron Bearfield talking about kind of out-of-the-box tactics for the Wisconsin River. And then on May 4th, we have Noah Humfeld coming through to wrap things up with spring strategies for the spring opener. So going to be some great events. I did record last night's event, so although I didn't record this stuff afterwards, that's for all the folks that actually made it in person. But I did record the event, and I'll post that sometime next week. But Austin, like I said, was talking about walleye flies. We are fully stocked with walleye flies here at the shop. Austin says these are very effective all the way through May, and then again in the fall. So come on through and get stocked up. He was also talking about hair jigs. Got a full selection of hair jigs, some locally tied stuff, some of your Google eyes, and yeah, also Austin laid out perfectly how effective these can be for catching walleyes. So thanks again to him, and thanks to everyone who came out. Another quick plug here, Southern Wisconsin Trout Unlimited has the Spring Fair fundraiser. This will be the last time I plug this event because it is tomorrow. It's at the East Side Club, right on the north side of Lake Monona there. Beautiful venue. Going to have some great food, tons of great bucket raffle prizes. I'm actually coordinating a fun casting competition. So yeah, a lot of great stuff going on. Going to have it should be a great event to benefit a great cause. Tickets are still on sale at swtu.org, and you can get those. They are limited. I know that we are close. As one of the organizers of the event, I know that we are close to selling out. So if you are interested in going, I'd get on getting tickets here sooner rather than later. Another SWTU related thing is the Riversmith Casting Clinic coming up on May 6th. That's at the park there, Xander Community Nature Park. It's the main park right there in Cross Plains that the creek runs through. This is a great event. If you've ever been curious to learn more about fly fishing, they'll have volunteers from the club there to kind of do one-on-one or very personal instruction on how to cast a fly rod. They'll also have folks from the DNR that talk about what trout like to eat, and folks that are there to teach you how to kind of read water and where trout live. So it's really just a great event. It's next Saturday, Saturday, May 6th. That's opening day of fishing season, 9 to noon over there in Cross Plains. So give that a look if you've ever been curious about learning more about trout fishing. Otherwise, I guess on to the report. This last week, it was a chilly week after the summer-like conditions that we had, 2 weeks ago there. But that's April in Wisconsin, I guess. So 40s and 50s for the high most of this last week. We even had a little snow come through. Looks like seasonal temps most of next week with highs in the 50s. So still some great weather to get out and do some spring fishing. The buoy on Lake Monona is again up and running. I read it yesterday and it said 44 degrees. I did hear down to on Lake Monona it was 48 degrees, and with Monona Bay coming in at 60 degrees at one point last week. But a lot of those temps, and especially the shallow water, have probably come down quite a bit since we've had this cool down. Generally around the chain, of course, game fish season, is closed on inland lakes, but I have been getting lots of reports of great local action for panfish, even though these cooler temps seem to have slowed that a little bit. Early season catch and release bass has been really great around the chain, and catfish here on the north side are starting to pick up. The Rock River is still running pretty high, but is at least fishable, and the Wisconsin River is just raging, and we'll talk about that a little later. Cherokee Marsh up here on the north side, I still haven't heard a lot out of here, which surprises me. I guess maybe not with this cool down, but Anyway, you'd think there'd be more fish up here, and I have heard about a few crappies, a bunch of northerns being caught up there, but they just aren't in there yet in the numbers that I feel like they should be by this time. But we'll let it warm up here a little bit, and they should be moving in there. Fish have started to move into the 113 bridge area. Some crappies getting caught down there. Still a few perch. A bonus or accidental walleye here and there, of course, with that season being closed. But catfish have also started to move in on this north end and also into the North Bay here on Lake Mendota. I haven't heard a lot out of Lake Mendota itself. I know bass guys are doing well shallow. A lot of folks hitting little channels and back bays and stuff like that, and finding some good action for largemouth and smallmouth. But a lot of the action for panfish has been in all these little inlets and stuff, Mendota County Park, Pheasant Branch, all the little spots where it's out of the way, shallow water. That's where this water is going to warm up first. Panfish had moved in there with that warm front we had come through, but it sounds like they might have moved out, a little bit. It's been a little quieter in some of these spots this last week, but fish will move in and out of there as temperature dictates. So, we got warmer weather on the way, and the fishing's only going to get better from here on out. I haven't heard anything out of the Tenney Breakwall, although I know some people are fishing down there. Of course, fishing below the Har River, or the locks over here is closed. But all right, sorry about that. Anyway, so down on Lake Monona, things have been pretty quiet from what I hear. I have heard about the crappie bite down here in the triangles in Monona Bay is still going strong. But other than that, not a lot going on in the lake. I guess these channels over here by Wichawak, formerly known as Squaw Bay, have been holding some panfish and some bluegills and even some crappies coming out of the lagoons up here in Winnequa. So that's definitely worth a look. I haven't heard much out of Winger Creek. I don't know if the muskies are done yet. I assume they probably are. But anyway, a lot of small panfish in Wingra. So, along the zoo over there is usually a pretty good spot where that sun comes in and warms this up nice and early. A lot of fish like hanging out there. Down to on the way to Wabisa, you got Lattice Park over here. Been hearing about some panfish in some of these little channels. Although, like I said, across the chain in a lot of these channels, it's fishing seems to have cooled down from what it was because it's the fish have just kind of moved out of some of these spots. Fishing remains good down here in Upper Mud. Had some fantastic bass action down there, and I think you saw Noah Humfeld posted a video just smashing some bass down there. Also, lots of bluegill and crappie being caught down there. So Upper Mud's always a pretty safe bet this time of year. Haven't heard anything out of Lake Farm or Lake Wabisa in general. Haven't heard anything out of the South Bay down here. And also haven't heard much out of Lake Kiganza other than a few fish over here at Fish Camp Park, where you got a little current in there, shallow water. It's a pretty safe bet. Anywhere shallow, this time of year, you're likely going to find panfish, especially. Down to Indian Ford, I've heard about a few walleye and sauger down there yet, but that's kind of tapering off. A lot of good pike down in there. Over on Kashkanong, haven't heard much out of Kash, but a few short fish in where the mouth of the Rock River comes in. Some good fishing here around Black Hawk Island and up to Fort Atkinson, between Fort Atkinson and Jefferson. Is still holding fish. The walleyes over there are done with their spawn. I'm sure the saugers, if they're not done, are just wrapping up. So that means you're going to have some great post-spawn action going on. Those fish are going to be hungry after a long spawning season. So great opportunities to get over there to the river. The Rock River is what Austin kind of fishes the most for walleyes. And again, gave just a really great presentation about fishing walleye flies and hair jigs on river systems. Haven't heard much out of Beaver Dam, other than there was a great crappie bite going on last week when we had some warmer weather. Catfishing has picked up there. They're still getting good cats, but sounds like the crappie bite might have slowed a little bit from what I hear. Over to Prairie du Sac. So yeah, I guess the news I alluded to earlier in the report is that the rivers are just raging right now. The Rock River is high, but still at least fishable. Um, the Wisconsin River is what I checked just this morning down to Muscadet, just downriver here where they have a monitoring station, and it was flowing at 47,000 CFS cubic feet per second, um, and that is way above the normal this time of year. It's supposed to be usually flowing around 15,000, hovering around that area anyway. So having it way up to 47,000 CFS is pretty ridiculous. So hard to fish the river right now. A lot of high water, hard to access the river. I do hear that some folks that have found some shore access around, Prairie du Sac Dam, Sauk City, um, are getting fish. That heavy current is kind of pushing fish up into the shallow areas and slack water. So they've been shore people have been getting some fish, but up and down the river, I've heard about launches being closed or not accessible anyway. So if you're headed up to the river, just make sure you, excuse me, maybe call ahead and make sure you got launches open. You see these little flood warnings all over up and down the river here on Google Maps. So yeah, the river's raging right now. Up to the Wisconsin Dells, though, I guess maybe a ray of hope was that I did notice the last couple of days the levels coming down quite a bit. So I don't know if that has to do with up north. They got a ton of more snow. When we got some down here, they got pounded up north again, a foot of snow. But you can see here at Castle Rock, flood warnings over here in Necedah. So, a lot of water out there. And yeah, I guess just stay tuned. We'll see how it's going. But haven't heard anything out of Castle Rock or Petenwell lakes themselves. Same deal over on the Mississippi River. I haven't really heard much out of there. Not many people fishing over there because the high water there too. A ton of water coming down from up north right now. And the Genoa barge is actually closed right now. So if that tells you anything, they're closed because of high water. So if that tells you anything, it's pretty rough over there. Over to Milwaukee, they had some rain come through here when we did this week. So I checked some of the flows up and down the East Coast here. Looked like the Milwaukee River was pretty high. Still fishable, of course, but running pretty high. But the Root River down here, they didn't get the rain the rain kind of skirted across the north of Milwaukee here, and so the Root River down here and other tributaries are fared a lot better. I don't know about Sheboygan and all the way up the East Coast, but the steelhead bite is tapered off / pretty much done, but they are getting fish in the harbors out here. So there's some cohos swimming around out there, some brown trout, and I've seen some good reports and heard from some folks that have come in the shop here. They've been doing good over there. Otherwise, up to Green Bay, the walleye run up here at the De Pere Dam is pretty much over. They're still getting some fish, but there's a good post-spawn bite up there. So as those fish come out of spawn, they're super hungry and ready to bulk back up and for summer here, get their feed bag back on as they move back out into Green Bay. So a lot of good post-spawn action up there for some, really world-class walleye fishery up there. Otherwise, around the area, as far as trout fishing goes, we had some rain, some cold weather. Doesn't make it the most comfortable fishing. That little bit of snow melt clouded the streams for a little bit. I was out last weekend very little bit, and yeah, the streams were just a little off-colored and not quite where you wanted them to be. But I'm sure that's cleared up by now. With the snow gone, the stream temperature stabilized. That gets trout in a great mood this time of year. Gets more insect hatches coming off. You're going to find blue-winged olives, dark-colored caddis, dark-colored blue-winged olives. I saw stoneflies and crane flies coming off, so a lot of bugs coming off this time of year. So it's important to have some dry flies packed along with you. Of course, if the dry flies aren't, or if the fish aren't rising to dries, you can always run nymphs and streamers, and those are super effective for catching fish any time of the year. And if you're not fly fishing, the spinning side of things, it's hard to beat a gold blade on a black Panther Martin. Tube jigs are super effective. And of course, Rapala is pretty hard to beat this time of year, but it is a great time of year. Of course, it's the catch and release only season, and only um, artificial bait, no live bait can be used this time of year. But it really is, arguably the best time of year to get out and do some trout fishing. You don't got to deal with weeds on the banks. You don't got to deal with bugs or heat. So it's just really pleasant, and trout live in beautiful places, so you can get out and explore that. I guess that does it for the fishing report for today, or for this week. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Post your comments and catch us below, and we will catch you next week. Thanks so much.